Mainstream history treats DNA like a static snapshot. But we treat it like a flow. The markers of ancient Amazon forest humans found in modern European DNA aren't a mistake or noise. They are the survivors of an old journey that started at least 50,000 years ago. These Surui markers were not just noise or a recent contact. If they had been, they would have appeared randomly and not in a faint way, as if they could have been some ghost population. If they would not have been studied by geneticist David Reich and his team, these today still living and again thriving Surui people would have indeed been seen as one more ghost population if ever a fossil with ancient DNA would have been discovered. In other videos we prove that technically these Surui people are the living and thriving fossils of mitochondrial Eve as well as of paternal Adam, that consensus assumed had been African, clearly extinct and without any fossil in Africa. And the reason this genetic math matters isn't just about the past, it's the only way we're going to save our future soil. We'll show you why in a moment. Specifically in modern Europeans, their DNA appears exactly along the Pacific and next along the Atlantic, very ancient success corridors, the same routes provingly used by the first great human expansion. But surprisingly for those who trust and defend the consensus human history, as well as the out-of-Africa hypothesis, these with absolute certainty proven routes have no contact at all with Africa, nor with Beringia, nor with anything else related to the consensus human history as well as the out-of-Africa. The with absolute certainty proven earliest ancestor of all humans is absolutely unrelated to Africa. Exactly this by consumer DNA clearly proven ancient success corridors that are departing from the Amazon forest in South America are made kind of invisible by consensus. That same ancestor would not have spread and populated the whole world without a clear reason. But here is where the math becomes undeniable. Our scientists should have been informing all humans about the clear and obvious potential to clearly see and prove the ancestors of all humans, and should have made that incredible potential public. This independent of the result. All former proofs of these ancient success corridors were already first made unrecognizable and later misused by humans. This hiding of history isn't new. We see the same pattern at sites like Göbekli Tepe, where ancient brilliance was buried and made unrecognizable for 10,000 years. Just like the DNA, the evidence was there but it was made invisible. While obviously unrelated to consumer DNA and genetics in general, we think it is highly probable that Göbekli Tepe had been made invisible, and thus unrecognizable already close to 10,000 years ago. The chances that all later discovered Taz Tepeler sites all had been perfectly buried by accident is very small. In fact, it is the discovery of Göbekli Tepe that is quite probably by a kind of accident, or rather a combination of favorable factors that made the discovery happen. This time, even more the probability of finding the oldest known haplogroups alongside these specific Surui markers in the consumer test of a modern European is extremely low. Now, multiply that by the probability of those people also having ancestral roots along one particular and really strong and important Atlantic expansion route. Mathematically, once we reach 10 consistent cases, the chance of this being a coincidence is less than 1 in several billion. And the ancient effective use of the above-mentioned ancient success corridors becomes a statistical certainty. This now is a fact that science can no longer ignore. Why does this matter for our future? Because these 10 cases prove that the humans who carried this success code were the same ones who developed the carbon soil agroforest that allowed humanity to thrive without destroying the earth, its forests and its soils. In other words, proving the DNA proves the ancient method for thriving. Indirectly but certainly the ancient method is how we save our future soil. The exact soils that our future, the future of most biodiversity, and the existence of all, totally depend on. The ancient method for prospering, proven in this very video, is actually your best reason to care about DNA, and our research, as it has the clear potential to lead to a solution for the planet.